Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to Sporty's webinar session on the Sporty's 2018 Learn to Fly course. On behalf of Sporty's, my name is Radtke. I'm serving as part host and also facilitator for our presentation today. We're happy that so many could join us. Couldn't be more excited about one of the most extensive updates that has been made yet to the award-winning 2018 Learn to Fly course, comprehensive flight training system, ground school, flight school, test prep, and beyond, all in one complete system. A little more about myself. Again, my name is Radtke, and I am one of the many kind of current stewards of the Sporty's series of pilot training courses, the history of which goes back to the early 60s, which we'll talk a little bit more about. So very happy to be in that position. I lead the educational team here at Sporty's and get to interact and talk with pilots each and every day on an ongoing basis. And for everyone here at Sporty's, that's what allows us and helps us to add new features and add new content and develop new products, all to help those active student pilots and also flight instructors who are out there involving themselves in aviation education day in and day out. Also with me, of course, is Bret Koebbe. Welcome, Bret.
Hi, Eric. Thank you.
Bret is a senior flight instructor here at Sporty's Academy and also leads our course development and video production team. Wonderful resource. Bret has certainly been at the forefront and responsible for so much of the new content that's been added in recent years and some of the new technology that we're taking advantage across all of our courses that we have. And Bret also serves as editor of iPad Pilot News, which is a free online periodical journal for everything related to aviation and use of the iPad. So kind of as a sidebar, if you're not signed up for Sporty's iPad Pilot News, it's absolutely free and you should do so. Once you're finished with the presentation, just visit iPadPilotNews.com and you'll be able to register for that. A little history to begin. The history of Sporty's goes all the way back to the early 1960s, and what I want to emphasize for everyone, and again, I believe this radiates and this permeates everything that we do here at Sporty's, from product development to services to what we do within our courses. We started as aviation educators first and foremost before there was any form of a retail presence at Sporty's Pilot Shop. We were founded by Hal Shevers, who is still very active, still as a flight instructor to this day, back in 1963, and Hal carved out a niche back in the early 1960s as a flight instructor working with individuals that own their own aircraft and who specifically were looking to add instrument ratings to existing private pilot certificates, and there wasn't a whole lot of that education that was available at that time. It was much more of a VFR world and not so much instrument flying. So that particular service or capability was not all that easy to find. So Hal, saw and believed, and like many successful entrepreneurs, saw that void in the marketplace and certainly jumped on that. So in working with many of these pilots toward instrument ratings, he also was discovered, again, through feedback, which is something we still do to this day at Sporty's. We listen and talk to our students each and every day, and we see what needs or what equipment, what other information is available and resources that instructors need, that students need to help make their flight training process and experience a success. Well, Hal did that very same thing. And what he knew and what he could glean from those students early on is that they needed some formalized system, some form of a school or in-person seminar to help them with the ground-based knowledge that was needed to get through that, not only instrument written, but also to help them be successful in the airplane itself. And the format that his students seemed to gravitate towards was something more on the kind of total immersion accelerated format. So back in the early 60s, Hal also pioneered this concept of the 3-day accelerated ground school, which he did and provided successfully for many, many years. And somewhat of an aside to that, again, just listening to the students he was working with and hearing and learning about the supplies that were needed, he also was able to source some specific products, and develop some unique products to help his students, and he began selling those. And again, the demand just essentially snowballed from there. So that's how Sporty's got its start, and that's, you can see how that's just part of our DNA to this day. Fast forward ahead to the mid 1980s, specifically 1987, and Sporty's at the time, and how we're looking for ways, again, to stay on the cutting edge of technology and make their products and services available to more and more people. And they decided the time was right and the equipment and technology was right, that Hal and his partners who were teaching these courses could take what they had developed and honed over this many years, and they could put this information out on videotape, and the videotape could be distributed much in the same way it is distributed now, in an online format or an app format. Back then it was videotape, and they were able to reach more and more pilots, and pilots were able to use these systems not on someone else's schedule, not on the schedule of a 3-day seminar, but they could do it in the comfort of their office or their living room, and put that tape in the machine and train exactly how they would like it. And really, ever since this time, we've been searching and looking for ways in which we could help individuals customize their learning experience. And that's certainly a very important feature, an asset to the Sporty's Learn to Fly system. Today, we are still doing that very same thing in terms of product development and research. We're operating our own flight school. Hundreds of students travel to our campus just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, on an annual basis to participate in everything from recreational training all the way up to career. Recreational pilots, private instrument ratings, commercial, all the way up through ATP. We do all of that training in a fleet of nearly 20 aircraft and a staff of more than 20 flight instructors right here on our campus, and that really allows us to do so much more of what we do on our campus to help facilitate all of that learning. We do have available everything that you would possibly need, from pilot supplies, of course, that you know of at Sporty's Pilot Shop, to written testing, designated pilot examiners on staff, and a campus overall with an aviation research library and quiet places to study to just enrich that learning environment. I'm going to ask Bret Koebbe to jump in here. Welcome Bret back, who again leads that production team, to talk a little bit more about Sporty's Academy from the product development and production standpoint.
So as Eric mentioned, this is really interesting. Again, a little bit about my background. I learned to fly in the late 90s, and I learned with the Sporty's private pilot training course at the time, and that was on VHS tape. And I can't explain how convenient that was then to be able to watch the flight lessons, the ground lessons at home, and then come to the airport and be prepared to see what was actually going to take place in the airplane. So fast forward to today, as Eric mentioned, the course is delivered in an online format. We have an extension of that modern production facility that we operate here at the Claremont County Airport, shooting in 4K video, the latest recording technologies. And we get a lot of questions when we give tours here, which we welcome people to the airport to check out the facility. And we get a lot of questions, and they say, well, where's your production studio? You know, we see your editing bays, we see your graphics department, but where's the studio? And we're very proud of our answer that we don't really have a studio. Our studio is the airport. It is the airplane. It's out around all over the world. We've filmed airplanes and flight training scenarios. So it's really an exciting job, and we're lucky to come to an airport every day and get to do that and share our experiences with the customers and the flight training students. So I shared a couple pictures here. I always try to grab some when we're out on video shoots. Again, whether it's in at the airport with our host Rob Ryder, who's also a very experienced pilot and air show announcer, announces Oshkosh, Sun and Fun, and all the major military air shows across the country. So very fortunate to have Rob on our team as the host and voice and really face of the Sporty's flight training course. But we're also flying air-to-air video shoots, strapping cameras to the outside of airplanes in every different direction. And as many of you know, the GoPro technology and the Garmin Verb cameras, we've really embraced that to show different dynamics and different attributes of the flight training process, thanks to that technology. But we really appreciate our roots, again, back to, as Eric mentioned, and Hal's philosophy in the 1960s of really making it a flight training process. We're not just preparing you to pass a test, but really the immersion and the entire experience. Along with that, we offer really unprecedented graphic development capabilities. And you're going to see that in our courseware and our flight maneuvers guides. The ability to take complex subjects that you can't necessarily videotape or record with the camera, create really immersive animations and explanations for complex topics that really breaks it down. And again, I think that's what separates our courses, is that we really go that extra mile, spend a lot of time on detailed graphics to break down these concepts. So mix that with the in-flight video, the flight training productions around the airport and the airplane, and it really comes together as a nice package for a flight training experience. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Eric. He's going to talk a little bit about the Learn to Fly course and how it can be used during your flight training and flight preparation.
Well, for those of you who are just investigating and just getting started, I'd encourage you, in your evaluation of home study or distance learning courses, and also in your evaluation of a particular facility to work with, an individual flight instructor, a flight school organization, get as much information as you can. Don't just tip your toe in the water there, or dip your toe. Go all in. Go all in. Immerse yourself in the pilot community. Talk to as many pilots as you can. Go to the airport. Interact. Not everyone is gonna, be as welcoming maybe as you might expect. Airports tend to have tall fences, and that's kind of a sign of the times these days. But once you're inside the gate, once you're inside the fence, I'm sure you'll find out that everyone's willing to help, everyone's willing to talk, everyone's able to, provide some form of advice. And any time you can get some personal feedback and a personal referral, that's absolutely invaluable. And as part of this, you can maybe help recruit a mentor. So if you don't come from a background, and I was in this camp, when I was learning how to fly, I didn't really have any family or even close friends who I knew that were in aviation. But again, in kind of involving myself and jumping into that community, I was able to meet some new people, and I was able to kind of forge these relationships, some of which I still have to this day, and I was able to get some great guidance and personal referrals about, some good recommendations on equipment to buy, and again, maybe a home study course to use, and specifically maybe a flight school or even a flight instructor that would be great to work with. So as much information as you can gather there, the better. The online resources, there's so many. Some of what you can find online, I mean, a lot of great resources there, but it can be a little bit daunting and even overwhelming because there's just so much information. So I do wish to point out that Sporties, we do produce our very own resource. It's absolutely free to the end user at studentpilotnews.com, 100% online resource. But what that's there for, it's a resource designed for any pilot that's in training or any pilot that's considering learning to fly, to get all the frequently asked questions answered. We provide video tips. We provide fun quizzes to help you along the way. There's a free newsletter you can sign up for. So if you have, there's all kinds of questions about getting started. We walk you through the medical practice. It's all right there, and it's all in a very easy to follow format, and you can be assured it's been written by experts, by student pilots, by flight instructors, by people that are actually involved in the process. So take a look. Finally, it's time to execute. Couldn't endorse the concept of a self-study program more. It's the ultimate way to invest in your own success, to control your own destiny. You as the client, you need to own the process. You need to make sure you know exactly what the plan is, and you need to be reasonably assured that the instructor and flight school you're working with has the right plan to also ensure your success. The self-study program allows you to go into as much depth and investigation as you wish. You can go beyond just the basics. You can quite literally, be taken away to the flight deck to see how maneuvers are being executed. You can, experience graphics and animations that are going to help explain more difficult concepts that in a traditional text format could be very difficult. And again, customize. If you need more study in one particular subject, you can do it. You can go back and view and review. If you have something mastered, you can move on, and you can always come back And the way some of these systems and the Sporty systems is well indexed, it's very easy to find the specific information that you're looking for. The medium of video-based training just couldn't lend itself better to in-airplane flight training. There's nothing like being on the flight deck to be able to visualize exactly what you're going to be seeing in the airplane. It quite literally brings these aviation concepts to life, and that's done with high-quality video, of course, and that's done with advanced graphics and also animations. You can see the flight procedures. You can put yourself on the flight deck. You can make these mental comparisons of exactly what you expect to see, or maybe what you did see in reality, and what kind of that perfect executed situation looks like. Takeoffs and landings, in particular. Landings seem to be, something as pilots we never master. We're always working on. There's a lot of concepts in aviation like this. But when you have a resource like a video-based training program where you can watch, the correct landing profiles and put yourself on the flight deck, that's very powerful preparation and very powerful reinforcement over and over again to master those concepts. You can be better prepared, and thinking about this as a wise investment for a fairly small dollar amount, typically less than the cost of an individual flight lesson. This will pay for itself many times over, because the more that you can engage and help reinforce and retain information and then prepare for upcoming upcoming lessons, that's going to be less time that you're investing with a flight instructor to either review or to teach. If the information's out there and it's consumable and in a manner that works for you, that's again less time that you're going to have to spend on information again that you've mastered already, and that's more time that can be spent in areas of weakness, or again focusing on acquiring those physical skills to manipulate the flight controls. Written test preparation. The written test is certainly come a long way as evolving, and it's also becoming better connected to the way we fly. It hasn't always been like that, I'm sorry to say, but certainly there's a specific manner and there's a specific way in which the FAA tests knowledge, and that's in my opinion, maybe doesn't always match exactly how we're going to be performing or executing in the aircraft itself. So in other words, that's a roundabout way of saying it's necessary. It's necessary to look and view and practice the way that the FAA will be testing or will be asking questions related to specific information. It's not cheating. It's smart. It's smart, prudent preparation. If it's important enough to test, it's important enough to train for and to practice. So within this system, you're going to have plenty of opportunity to study actual FAA test questions and take practice tests just like the real thing. And furthermore, this system will also actually provide you the endorsement to take the written test. So for a lot of pilots, they view that just like kind of driver's education. There's this written testing component, of course, and there's the practical application and flying portion of your certification. That written test, this is one additional hurdle or step in that certification process that you have available to really complete completely on your own within the Sporty's Learn to Fly course, because accomplishing all the video-based training and then completing 2 practice tests with a minimum score will yield you that written test endorsement. Bret's going to speak in a little more detail about these specific updates that have happened in our 2018 release.
Flight training has never been easier thanks to Sporty's 2018 Learn to Fly course, our biggest update yet. Here's what's new. First, there's a completely new iOS app that makes it simple to train anywhere. Watch beautiful HD video, take practice FAA knowledge tests, or review our animated maneuvers guide on the go. It works on iPad or iPhone, and you can save video segments for offline viewing. Plus, all 3 course formats are now included for the same price. When you buy Sporty's Learn to Fly course, you'll get access to the streaming online course, the iPad iPhone app, and the Apple TV app. No extra charges and no need to choose which format is right for you. use them all. Best of all, automatic progress sync means you can switch back and forth between online and app without losing track of your training. When you've completed all the videos and passed 2 practice tests, our team of flight instructors will even give you the required written test endorsement. In addition to award-winning video segments, Sporty's course now has 32 fully narrated HD maneuvers that offer step-by-step instructions for flying all the key elements in the Airman Certification Standards. It's powerful check-ride prep. Want to share your progress with your flight instructor? Our 2018 course allows pilots to invite a CFI to see your practice test scores and monitor which video segments you viewed. Review notes are also included with every video, which summarize the key points from each segment. These are ideal for review or when preparing for the oral exam. There's even integration with Redbird's Guided Independent Flight Training Program. This allows you to use Sporty's course with a Redbird flight simulator in a structured way. Sporty's 2018 Learn to Fly course is everything you need to prepare for your written test and earn your pilot certificate, with ground school, test prep, and real-world training, all in one easy-to-use package. One course, everything you need to be a pilot. Visit sportys.com/demo.
This is a kind of a good mix because the video showed a lot of the features in the screens from our iPad, iPhone platform of the app here. And what I'm going to go ahead and demo is more of the online course, so you can kind of get a feel of both systems. So again, that's really one of the nice features here in 2018 that we've added with our Learn to Fly course, is there's no decision which platform you need to purchase. You buy our course, you get the online version, which works on a web browser, all the major software, Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer. So we'll really cover all the bases there. A full-featured, dedicated iPad, iPhone app. And I say full-featured because it's not a companion app, but it really has every last feature that the online course does. So you can take that with you. And the real benefit of that device that we hear from a lot of customers that travel on the airlines or live internationally where they don't have a strong data connection is that you can save the content for offline viewing. So you can save videos just like you can with Netflix or the DirecTV type apps, all the popular media apps out there. Save the video so that you can watch it at another time when you don't have a full internet connection. Also introduced this year, we're really excited about, is the Apple TV application. And it allows us to bring the full training, the full HD video experience back into the living room. The course started, as I mentioned earlier, and Eric mentioned, on VHS tapes, and that's where a lot of our customers and me personally back in the 1990s experienced and used the course, was on the home TV. Mobile devices are now the most prominent way that our customers and flight students here use the course. But again, with the high quality HD video, it is nice to have a way to watch that at home using the Apple TV platform. And again, all those are included with the purchase of the course. To make all that happen, there was one key element we had to add this year, which we did, which is the syncing feature, which means that no matter where you watch the video, no matter where you take your practice test as you work towards your knowledge test endorsement, that's going to all stay in sync. So you don't have any compromises on where you watch the course or where you use it. If you want to watch a couple video segments at home when you're there to watch it on the big TV, the next day you might be out at the airport using your computer to watch a couple segments, take a couple practice tests. And then another time you might be on a subway or on some other form of transportation or need to kill some time and you can study some test questions. But again, when you finish and when you save those sessions, it all comes together and stays tied to your account. So you get your progress accounted for through your training system. So with that, I'm going to switch over here to the actual course and go through a little bit of a demo process. So what we're looking at here, this is what we call our course portal. That's what you see after you first log in to the Learn to Fly course. And a little bit of background too on that aspect. We don't necessarily call it a private pilot training course. We call it our Learn to Fly course because it offers training for 3 different certificates. Majority of pilots do end up going through and earning their private pilot certificate. But as you can see here, we have options for the recreational pilot certificate as well as the sport pilot certificate. And the nice thing is you don't have to choose at the beginning. I know a big portion of the crowd here this afternoon is still considering learning to fly and choosing the right path. And the benefit here is you don't have to pick. all three of these kind of tracks, if you want to call them that, the private, recreational, and sport, all start off identically, and they all work you towards the first solo. So you can start with the private, switch to the recreational if you'd like, start with the sport. If you think that's not for you, switch over to the private, but you have all three options here in the course to get going with that. In our overview, we see our progress. We show your top 2 test scores and your video progress. And those are really your key metrics as you advance through the program. And that's what we track here at Sporty's as you work towards your training for your knowledge test endorsement. So kind of from a high level view, the way the course works is after you do watch all the video training and get that to 100%, and you score 2 tests over 80%, this written test endorsement button will be activated. And that allows you to request your knowledge test endorsement automatically from the course, and we'll email that to you within a matter of minutes to take to your testing center. So again, as Eric mentioned, a lot of students and a lot of our customers we see like to do that before they even take their first flight lesson. They want to do a lot of preparation, get that knowledge test knocked out of the way, and you can do all that before you step foot for the first time at the airport and meet your flight instructor. So a lot of training options there for those that want to go that avenue. We're going to go ahead and launch the course now. And what you're going to see is it takes you right into the video training section. We have a top navigation bar here at the very top in the black header where you can switch from video training, test prep, have a flight resources section, which we'll go into a little bit more here shortly, our flight maneuvers guide, training course outline and syllabus, airman certification standards, study guide, and more. On the left-hand side is our main navigation bar. This is how we select the video segment. And the course is structured in 6 main volumes, starting with your first few hours, volume 1, and concluding with your private pilot test, volume 6. And what's really great about this course, and again, this kind of goes through the Sporty's history and over 50 years of flight training, and how we develop this, we keep the segments fairly short, concise. There are a couple longer ones for the more detailed subjects, but we don't want to drag out one subject too long. We're not going to cover aerodynamics all in one section. We're going to break it up into multiple pieces. We're not going to look at airplane systems all in one section, as you can kind of see here through the navigation bar. So what it allows you to do is you go through, and if you want to spend a couple hours, you're not just studying the same material in detail. You're breaking it up and allowing your mind to absorb that and kind of move around from some of the ground training topics, then moving to flight training topics and back and forth. So it really makes for a dynamic learning experience. As you can see on the right-hand side, this is one of my active users who has completed all of these segments here, as noted by the green check marks. So what we're going to do is jump ahead to the practicing landings section. And so it looks like the next section up here that we have not viewed yet is the normal landings section. It's a 12-minute video. The controls are very simple. We just press the play button to activate the video player. It's not going to play very smoothly through the software, so I'm not going to continue to play it just through the nature of the webinar software. But it's standard video player. You can go full screen, volume controls, rewind 10 seconds. You can skip ahead if you'd like by using the controls here. But again, as you can see, just by the quick illustration, all the video is in the airplane. These are all shots flying, showing the controls, showing the landings from the outside, mixed in with a lot of graphic overlays to help illustrate, again, what we're looking for in landings. I'll let this play here for a minute just to show an example. Again, getting that sight picture of what the normal landing should look like. And what you'll find is you'll watch these videos a couple times, and when you get to the airport for that flight lesson, you're really going to be prepared. I've been a flight instructor since the year 2002, and of course have all my students use this course. And as with anything, not all of them have the self-study habits to carry through with that, but you can identify right away a student who uses a home study course, a flight training course like this, versus the ones who don't and just tell you they did. They are very much more prepared for every single lesson. And the video training is just one aspect of that. Every lesson, because some like to read, some like to absorb the material differently, have review notes with key takeaways from that lesson. So a great way to come back after you watch the video, say for more technical subject matter such as regulations or things that you need to memorize, you can come back and review the notes for a better understanding of the material. Once you kind of watch the video, go through the review notes, there's a video review quiz, which then has questions that we have written based on the video content, real practical, real-world questions that you can answer and get instant feedback on your selections. So go through a couple questions. let's say I answered one and I picked the wrong answer, and I want to know more about why that subject matter, what don't I understand about that? Well, instead of actually writing explanations here, what we've done is added an explanation button. And what this will do is actually take you to the segment in the video to cover that subject matter. So in this case, we're talking about traffic patterns. Here we are looking at a picture entering the traffic pattern on a 45-degree angle to the downwind leg. That was the correct answer. So a very powerful tool to reinforce for some of the weaker areas that you might not understand right away. Again, a combination of the video, the review notes, and that review quiz really brings that all together for a really powerful learning tool. All in all, the video here throughout these volumes is about 15 hours, so pretty in-depth when you think about it, going all the way through start to finish. You can see here towards the end of the course, we're getting into check ride preparation, some of the more complicated or complex aircraft, high performance, flying Cessna 182 Skylanes, et cetera. So as you build again through that, we're kind of taking that building block approach and introducing and mastering more complicated subject matters. Now, from a flight lesson standpoint, I want to pop over to the interactive maneuvers guide. And this is something that we're really excited about. This is a new feature, a really enhanced feature for the 2018 course. So again, with that premise that this is a flight training course, we want to learn more about the flight maneuvers. And for those who are learning to fly, you will have a guide that gives you basically an outline of all the different types of maneuvers that you will learn to accomplish in the airplane. The common ones, obviously, that we all know are the takeoff and the landing, but there are also in-flight maneuvers, like flying the aircraft at slower airspeeds in slow flight, learning to perform intentional aerodynamic stalls for the airplane. And there's a lot of steps here involved with performing each one of these maneuvers. So to make it a little bit easier to comprehend, we've created these 3D animated, and these are also narrated. You can't hear the voiceover here, but there is an instructor talking you through the maneuver, and I'll advance ahead to one of them to give you an example, with step-by-step instructions on how to complete that. So great way to see the aircraft kind of from an outside perspective of what's going on with each maneuver and how to accomplish it, while you see the instructions on the screen, also accompanied by spoken narration to help guide you through that maneuver. And like with the videos, they have a review notes section here, again, which has your standards. So basically, how much altitude am I trying to hold? What kind of heading parameters do I have? And then really what's helpful here is a step-by-step description. So a common lesson from your instructor might say, okay, tomorrow we're going to practice normal approach and landing. So with that being said, I'm going to go here to the maneuvers guide, watch this a couple times, study the description here, and then probably also watch some of the video training elements also to kind of get a real good picture of that flight training lesson, so that I'm very well prepared when I get to the airport, and most likely going to impress my instructor with knowledge. And at that point, when you're actually in the airplane, you're focusing more on the controlling the airplane. You have less to think about because you've seen the material before. You're already prepared for what you're going to see that day. So as Eric mentioned, the other aspect of the flight training process, a necessary element, is the test preparation, the knowledge test. And as he mentioned, it's very important that you practice and study and get ready for that as well, just like you do for each flight lesson. So I'll give you a quick preview of how that works. The way we recommend most students start, especially when beginning the flight training process and the preparation for this knowledge test, is to use this function here called Study Individual Topics. And what this will do is present a full list of all the categories of questions that are possibly offered on the 60-question FAA knowledge test. So let's say today we want to review a little bit more about airspace. So I'm going to select that category, hit the Start button, and now we have a session prepared automatically that has questions just on airspace so that we can focus on just really one subject matter and hone our skills in that area. So a question here, the normal radius of the outer area of Class C airspace. So I'm going to select 20 miles. As you can see from the green color, the instant feedback, that was the correct answer. But what's really helpful here now is that we do have written explanations for every single answer for these test preparation questions. So that if you do get it correct, you can read a little bit more about that information, learn some knowledge pieces about it. If you were to select the incorrect answer, you're going to learn about why that is incorrect, and then hopefully go back, choose the correct answer, make it a learning experience, and move on from there. These incorporate the full FAA knowledge test prep figures guide, so you have those right in line to make it easy, again, to use this tool, whether you are on your iPad, iPhone, computer, etc. You have everything right there to take these sessions and If you don't want to finish it, we have the option to save and quit, as you can see from the red button here. So we'll do that in this example. And over on the right-hand side, you can see that I have some in-session, in-progress sessions here that I could resume at a later time. After you're comfortable and you have a pretty good feel for all the test questions, the next step is to take a sample test. And so what we do here is assemble a 60-question simulated knowledge test. So this kind of simulates the real thing and engages your preparation for taking the actual knowledge test. Sort 60 questions from each of the categories, just like you'd find on the actual FAA test. This time, however, there is no feedback. So you select an answer. It doesn't tell you if it's right or wrong, just like the real test. You'll go through and go ahead and process that and take that session. When you're finished, of course, you'll have a score in the high 90s since you used this course. And what will happen then, we're going to go back to our main screen now, go back to our My Courses portal. And you can see here, again, since we were studying this course very well, our two top scores here are 98% and 93%. So that's kind of our real-time assessment of our progress in the course. And again, the goal here is to watch all the video, get that up to 100%. And you're going to find that you're going to want to watch some of the segments multiple times to really absorb the material. Earn 2 practice test scores of 80% or higher. And again, at that point, your request written and test prep endorsement will appear, and you can process that information, and you'll have your endorsement emailed to you in a matter of minutes and available for download. You can also earn FAA Wings credit, which is a great feature here that sends it over to the FAA safety website for your participation in the course. One last feature I want to show here is what's called progress sharing, and this is a new feature for 2018. And this allows you to send basically your progress, your status to a flight instructor. So they can monitor and see that you're viewing video segments. They can see your test scores and kind of keep an eye on things. So this is another feature that's really been heavily requested by other flight schools, other flight training institutions that we were able to provide this year, so that you can share your progress and your instructor can keep up with you. He has a better feel for what you're learning and then can follow up and tailor each ground lesson or flight training lesson based on what you studied in the course. So great feature here. Okay, I'm going to jump back into our presentation. I want to bring up one more topic before I toss this back over to Eric. So what are the key features? And I put a picture up here of the iPad iPhone app again because it's easy to lose sight. We just looked at the online course. Well, again, all these features are also in a native iPhone, iPad app that you can use and sync up with your online course. So again, you picked the platform that you want to use. Again, it's a self-paced course, so no instructor needed. It works very well with an instructor, and we encourage you to do that. But for those of you that want to prepare in advance, it's a great tool to do that. The modular fashion of it, and the fact that you can jump around, you can watch the video training sections, watch a couple maneuvers. You really pick the training session most applicable to your needs for that day. Of course, we covered the mobile aspect, iPhone, iPad, Apple TV. And for the Android users, they have the Chrome web browser. This works great on the Android devices also, right in the web browser. And I can't emphasize enough when you're looking at this system, it's not test prep, it's not a home study course, it's not a ground school, it's not flight training. It's really all those things. It's all this comprehensive study preparation package all into one that you could really do on your iPhone if you wanted to, considering the platform. So you have options. It's all there for you. We have a great time putting this together. Like I said, it's one of the best places to work, that we get to come to the airport and play with video cameras and really make some exciting flight training tools for all the students out there and the customers. So, and again, for those listening, I say thank you for the feedback, because as Eric mentioned, since Hal did this in the 1960s, our best ideas come from customers, and we take this seriously. And there's features and ideas that we hear that we're able to turn around sometimes in a matter of days. So as you use the course, we would love to hear your comments and feedback to continue to improve this and be really exciting down the road what we have in store to continue to advance this program. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Eric, who is going to review some of the tips from a user standpoint on how you can even make more out of using this course.
Thanks, Brett. So a common question that I get on a routine basis, and I want to address it, I want to hit it head on, is that I have the course, I'm going to buy the course, what's my quick start? What's my 1, 2, 3s on how to move through this course? So I want to answer that point blank, black and white. So the first thing I would recommend, regardless of where you're at, when you get the program, get into the course, go from start to finish, all the way through, even, exploring some topics, obviously, that you may not have covered yet in the actual aircraft. And what this will do is this will build a wonderful foundation and give you a great perspective of what's coming. It doesn't mean you're going to master or need to master or fully understand everything you're going to see, but from moving through the video-based training, especially from start to finish, again, great perspective start to finish. You will retain some of those elements that will come up later. And what you'll be able to do moving lesson by lesson is you'll be able to more directly focus on those individual topics once you've kind of built that base, if you will. Now, when you're moving through the video training, a couple features that I'll emphasize or point out again that Bret also mentioned. At the conclusion of most of the video training segments, we also have built-in video review quizzes. Again, this is an excellent time to answer relevant FAA formatted test questions related to the knowledge that you just completed. So you will start to understand, start to get in kind of a groove of how to expect some of this assessment that will happen as part of the FAA testing process. There's also, for those of you who prefer this medium or this summary, we do have textual review notes at the end of most video segments. So that's a great way in a very short, concise format. Okay, I've kind of consumed this video-based content. Let me move through these review notes, and that will give me kind of a better idea of what maybe I need to go back and look at additionally, or yes, I understand this, and this. It will also allow you or even trigger you to maybe make some notations, some things or concepts you want to maybe bring to a flight instructor or come back even, at a later time. So once you've moved start to finish, moving on to number 2, we recommend you get into the written test prep module. There's several modes of operation within that, but you want to study specific, create a variety of study segments. My suggestion would be just go for the random selection of test questions. And then once you're moving through those and you seem to be answering those fairly consistently and scoring fairly consistently, you could then choose to graduate into the actual simulated written test. Now, if you're not scoring or performing quite what you would like, you can do some refinement in your topic selection within the study mode and select individual topics. But hopefully you're moving on to the individual sample written test, and then what you're looking for moving on to step 3 is those 2 practice test scores of at least an 80%, and that'll trigger your written exam endorsement, and you can feel very good and very confident that you are ready for the test at that point. Now, beyond the quick start, moving into the airplane, if you're already a student in training, we do include in this program an actual flight training syllabus that could be used with your flight instructor to help bridge your home study with that which you will do with the instructor in the airplane. So that's each of those individual lessons has built-in individual study segments. Now, if you're not using the Sporty's provided syllabus, that's still okay, because again, as you saw in the demo that Bret provided, there's a wonderful index where we go down in great detail. We drill down very deeply in terms of being able to pick out and choose specific elements to study. So even if you're not using the Sporty's provided syllabus, any syllabus with general topic outlines, you should be able to go to the Sporty's topic index or topic outline and consume that video-based material that relates for your upcoming session. The interactive maneuvers guide, great method or great way to use this or get the most from this resource in there is, again, looking ahead at upcoming lessons or asking your flight instructor, what type of required flight maneuvers are we going to be working on next, or what profiles will I be expected to perform on the actual check ride. Reference those individual elements in the interactive maneuvers guide, watch that take place or watch that get executed in that artificial 3D environment, and read the textual description so that when you're getting in the airplane to perform that maneuver, you have a game plan. 1, 2, 3, this is what I'm going to do for setup, and this is what I'm going to do for execution. And that means all the difference in the world from success and a pleasurable flight experience versus frustration. Kind of to bring it all together, nearing the end of your learning experience, heading into check ride time, the provided ACS study guide, the Airman Certification Standard. This is the examiner's playbook. This is what they're required to hold you to in terms of performance standards, but this will have a breakdown of risk management elements, specific metrics for airspeed, altitude, bank angle that you'll be expected. So, don't go into that blindly. It's open information. It's there. We provide it. Know exactly what the examiner is going to be looking at and looking for, and there should be no surprises come check ride day. Free demonstration is always available. Everything Bret just went through, everything we've talked about, sportys.com/demo, you can go right into our Learn to Fly course demo. Accessing your course ongoing, you can always see that at sportys.com/mycourses, and you can take a look and demo any of the courseware that Sportys has available. You can take a look at on that site. And with that, we're going to turn it over to a few questions. And Bret, I'm going to kick a couple of questions your way out of the gate. And the first question is going to be for our Android users out there. What do we have for the Android users? How can they still take advantage of the Sporty's Learn to Fly program?
Yes. Again, with the Learn to Fly course being presented in the online platform, we recommend that the Android users use their Chrome web browser on the device, and they can access the entire course that way. All fully featured. Everything that you find on a computer works very well on the Chrome web browser on the Android devices.
Great. Now, Bret, also, I'll keep it with you for a second. Say I want to take you to the app format, which has the convenient download manager to allow you to download video training segments for offline viewing. So let me give a specific example. You're going to take an airline flight. It's going to be a 2-hour flight. So if you wanted to download maybe a training volume, what kind of space do you need to have available on your device to do something like that?
Sure, great question. So a little background, the app itself is relatively small. And the app itself is called the Pilot Training app, and that's what you're going to search for on the App Store. And then you'll find the Learn to Fly course available in that Pilot Training app. But you can estimate roughly about a gigabyte per video volume. So if you wanted to download all 6 volumes, about 6 gigabytes. But if you just wanted to download a couple hours, you could do that in 1 to 1.5 gigabytes. So I think that's pretty, with the size of iPads and iPhones these days, that should be not too much space and something you can find room for a temporary storage for a situation like that.
Very good. I will take another question that has come in, and specifically it's from a student pilot who's already in training, and they're at a flight school that is using their own syllabus or some alternate syllabus, which is fantastic. So let me first say that the fact that you're with an organization, they have a syllabus in place, you have a game plan, that is excellent. That's a sign that you're with the right individual with the right flight school. As I kind of pointed out or mentioned once before, that's quite all right. We do have a syllabus that's provided that can be used, but it doesn't have to be used. And the way you can still take full advantage of Sporty's Learn to Fly course is just use our index, use the detailed index. So you locate the topic areas that should be within the lesson plan on any syllabus, doesn't matter the syllabus, and use that topic outline to seek out those individual segments from which you can study, and maintain that discipline. Again, back to what I said at the beginning, this is your experience. You want to own your own experience, be proactive, take the lead, know the plan, always be looking ahead and preparing. With that, we've gone a little bit longer than we had originally planned, but certainly appreciate everyone sticking with us. Bret, did you have any closing comments you wanted to mention?
No. Overall, again, I really appreciate, again, personally working on the course and having worked on it really for the last, I was thinking back, 17 years. Again, it's that customer feedback and the positives and the constructive criticism that we receive that we really are able to grow this course and make it a platform that everybody can use. So I just want to say thank you to all our customers who have shared that with us and continue to do that. And words of encouragement to all those that are considering learning to fly, and really hope you choose Sporty's as a training partner. And we really think you'll be pleased with this product, and we'll help you succeed in your flight training endeavors.
Excellent. Reminder, this webinar recording will be posted on Sporty's YouTube, also sportys.com/webinars. Come visit us anytime, sportys.com. Come to sportys.com for the free course demo. We really appreciate everyone joining us today and hope to have you back at a future webinar. For Bret, Koebbe, and the entire Sportys team, I'm Radtke. Have a great afternoon, and of course, safe flying to all.